God is about to surprise you. Life-changing miracles are coming. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourself, not for a distant hope, but for a present awakening. God is about to surprise you in ways your logical mind cannot yet comprehend. You are standing on the threshold of life-changing miracles, not because of chance, but because of divine law responding to your inner world. This is not about waiting for the world to change. It's about realizing that the world is already shifting the moment you do. The power that shaped the stars is moving through your awareness right now, waiting for one thing: your decision to accept, believe, and embody the life you truly desire. Miracles are not reserved for the chosen few. They are the natural outcome of one who dares to live from the end. And now, the end you've imagined is about to unfold in the most glorious way. Imagination is the first act of creation. Everything that you will ever experience in your life begins first in the unseen realm of imagination. This is not a fanciful idea or poetic metaphor. It is the primal truth of creation itself. Before anything is formed in the outer world, it must first be conceived, believed, and felt within. Your imagination is not a tool for escapism. It is the workshop of God within you. It is the womb from which every miracle is born. If you can see it clearly with your inner eye and feel its reality as if it were already yours, then the unseen substance of the universe begins to rearrange itself in your favor. The moment you dare to imagine something new, something better, something greater, you ignite the first spark of divine creation. Do not wait for the conditions to be right. You are the condition. Your imagination is the soil. Your feelings are the water. Your assumptions are the sunlight. What you plant with belief and nurture with persistence must grow, because that is spiritual law. When you imagine, you are not merely daydreaming, you are entering into a sacred contract with the infinite. You are impressing your desire upon the creative medium that governs all things. But here is the key: you must not treat your imagination as fiction. You must treat it as truth, more real than the current facts of your life. This is where most falter. They imagine briefly, then check their senses and say, but nothing has changed. Yep, the change has already begun. Just as a seed in the soil doesn't sprout the moment you bury it, your imagined reality needs time to gestate. But once it is imagined and felt with conviction, the process becomes inevitable. The world must conform to your dominant inner picture. So I ask you now, what are you imagining consistently? Are you imagining more struggle, more waiting, more lack? Or are you imagining abundance, joy, freedom, and fulfillment? Because whether consciously or unconsciously, you are always imagining, and therefore you are always creating. Your current life is not a product of fate, karma, or luck. It is a reflection of past imaginal activity. And the good news is you can begin again right now. You can choose a new image, a new scene, a new story, and dwell in it as though it were already yours. This is where miracles are born, not through begging or bargaining, but through aligning with the vision that already exists in the unseen. When you imagine yourself healed, loved, successful, or free, and you persist in that assumption despite all evidence to the contrary, life will yield to your vision. Why? Because imagination is not idle. It is divine. It is the language by which God speaks into being. And when you use it with faith, miracles do not just become possible, they become promised. The inner world projects the outer reality. Remember your certain goal. Look around you. Everything you see, everything you touch, every circumstance you call your life is not the cause of your experience, but the effect. The outer world is not operating independently of your inner state. It is the mirror that faithfully reflects your thoughts, assumptions, and feelings. What you experience outwardly is a projection of what you have accepted inwardly as true. This is not a metaphor, it is spiritual law. The world you encounter daily is shaped and molded by the self-being you hold deep within, the thoughts you repeatedly entertain, and the states of being you most often occupy. If you feel stuck in limitation, lack, or delay, it is not because the world is resisting you. It is because your inner world is producing that same echo. But the moment you shift within, the world begins to shift without. Life doesn't change from the outside in, it transforms from the inside out. The great secret is this: the outer world is not happening to you, it is happening through you. Events, people, conditions, they are all responding to the inner climate of your consciousness. If you persist in seeing yourself as overlooked, unwanted, or struggling, then life has no choice but to reflect that script back to you. But change the story within, and the story around you must follow, not by chance, but by law. This is not about pretending or denying reality. It is about recognizing the source of it. When you understand that your consciousness is the root of your experience, you reclaim your creative power. You move from victim to author. Think of your inner world as the projector and the outer world as the screen. You don't walk up to the movie screen and try to edit the picture. You change the reel. In the same way, you don't fight with appearances. You alter the state from which those appearances arise. Want to change your finances? Then see yourself as already abundant, not in theory, but in feeling. Want to transform your relationships? Then assume within that you are already loved, respected, and cherished. Carry that feeling, walk in it, live in it inwardly, and the outer must eventually bow to your inner conviction. The most powerful transformations happen not when you try harder in the world, but when you believe differently within. This is the divine design. The world mirrors you. If you want a new reflection, you must offer a new face to the mirror. This is not striving, it is alignment, and the moment you align with a new inner state, the world begins to rearrange itself in accordance with your new identity. This is why life-changing miracles often appear suddenly, because the shift within happens silently, gradually, and then inevitably spilled over into the visible. You are not here to chase results. You are here to embody a state. Everything else is response. Everything else is reflection. You are not waiting on the world. The world is waiting on you. Feel it is done, not for us to hope. Hope is a beautiful beginning, but it is not enough to move mountains. Hope waits. Hope wishes. Hope looks to the future with longing. But miracles do not respond to wishful thinking. They respond to inner certainty. There is a sacred difference between hoping something will happen and knowing it already has. The power that shapes your life responds not to your words, but to the feeling that those words carry. To feel something as done, not someday, not eventually, but now, is to align yourself with its already finished reality. This is the secret to receiving anything, not through pleading, not through waiting, but through assuming the position of the one who already possesses it. In the unseen, there is no time. Creation is finished. The only question is, will you accept it as done in your world? And you feel the end result as though it were already true. You activate a spiritual law that cannot fail. This is not pretending or forcing. It is assuming your rightful place in the reality you desire. When you close your eyes and step into that inner scene where your desire is fulfilled, what you're doing is not fantasy, it is faith in motion. Your emotions are the energetic signature of your belief. Again, if you still feel lack, then despite your words, you are believing in lack. But when you feel peace, joy, and gratitude as though your prayer has already been answered, then you are no longer trying to get something, you are living from it. This is what it means to walk by faith not by sight. You do not look to the outer world to confirm your desire. You confirm it within, and the outer world eventually yields to your conviction. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is not optional. It is the key that unlocks the door. You cannot long for something and simultaneously believe it is already yours. That contradiction creates delay. But the moment you let go of how and when and rest in the feeling of already, your world begins to respond. Not because you are trying harder, but because you have moved into alignment with the reality in which your desire is a fact. So sit with this truth. What would it feel like if your miracle had already occurred? How would you walk, speak, think, and breathe if the healing had already taken place? The relationship already restored, the dream already realized. Live in that feeling, not occasionally but consistently. Carry it with you as your new atmosphere. That is what faith looks like in action, not striving, but resting in the knowing that it is done. Your senses will try to contradict you. The world may appear unchanged for a time, but hold the feeling. Persist in it. This is not delusion. It is creation. You are not hoping for a miracle. You are wearing it. You are living from it. And because of that, it must appear. States of being are the true cause. Behind every miracle, breakthrough, or transformation lies not a set of external conditions, but a shift in your state of being. Life does not respond to what you want, it reflects who you are being. The greatest secret hidden in plain sight is this: you do not get what you wish for, you get what you are. Your state of being, your dominant mood, beliefs, assumptions, and emotional tone is the seed from which every experience grows. If you desire change, do not chase after circumstances. Embody the state in which those circumstances naturally occur. A person living from the state of abundance never wonders when their supply will come. A person living from the state of love does not question whether they are worthy or wanted. These things are simply part of the atmosphere of that inner state. So the true work, the real transformation, is not in manipulating outer facts. It is in mastering your own inner identity. You shift your world by shifting yourself. The outer is always downstream of the inner. This is why two people can walk into the same room and experience completely different realities. One lives from a state of lack, insecurity, and waiting, and sees more reasons to doubt, fear, and delay. The other lives from a state of fulfillment, assurance, and faith, and everything seems to line up in their favor. It's not because life is unfair, it's because life is lawful. Your state sets the tone, and your world must sing in harmony with it. That's the divine architecture of reality. You can change your job, your city, your relationships, or your goals 100 times. But if you carry the same state of being, you will only recreate the same outcomes in new forms. This is why real and lasting transformation happens within first. Your inner state is the cause, your life is the effect. So what does it mean to shift your state? It means to feel differently about yourself, not because anything outside has changed, but because you've decided to align with the new version of you. If you are waiting for the world to give you a reason to believe, you will be waiting forever. You must believe first, feel first, become first, and then the world will follow. This is not about pretending. It's about declaring, this is who I am now, and allowing the universe to reorganize itself around your declaration. You are never stuck because of circumstances. You are only ever stuck in a state. And states are fluid. They change the moment you decide to dwell in a new one. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not even your current results. You are the awareness choosing where to dwell. And the moment you assume a new state, be it confidence, wealth, love, healing, peace, that state begins to color your thoughts, choices, and perceptions. You'll speak differently. You'll expect differently. You'll move differently. And that subtle shift becomes the signal that calls forth new people, new opportunities, and new outcomes. Do not underestimate the power of a quiet internal decision. What seems invisible today becomes undeniable tomorrow when you persist in the feeling of the new state. This is the reason some people rise seemingly overnight, not because they worked harder, but because they finally stopped identifying with the old state. They stopped rehearsing the story of, I'm not ready, it never works for me, things take time, or I'm still healing. They dropped the script of delay and stood in the frequency of, it is mine now. That is when mountains move, because God does not reward effort. He flows through a line. And when your being aligns with the reality you desire, manifestation becomes not just possible, it becomes inevitable. The question is not when will it happen, the question is what state am I in right now? Because that will tell you everything. If your current state feels heavy, doubtful, or resistant, that is not the time to push harder. It is the time to pause, breathe, and re-enter a state that matches your desire. The moment you step into the feeling of certainty, joy, peace, and fulfillment, even without evidence, the unseen forces begin to organize themselves. Doors you didn't knock on will open. Paths you didn't plan will appear. People you didn't expect will arrive, because they are all part of the world that naturally unfolds from that state. So do not focus on how to make things happen. Focus on how to become the person in whom they already have. That is where your power lives. Not in control, but in choice. And your greatest miracle is only ever one state shift away. God moves through the assumption of man. There is a sacred force working in and through you at all times. And that force moves in response to your assumption. Not your words, not your desperation, not even your effort. Your assumption. What you assume to be true about yourself and your world becomes the mold through which divine power flows. The presence of God. The limitless creative intelligence that sustains the entire universe requires a vessel through which it can express. And that vessel is your belief. You don't need to beg for miracles. You don't need to strive, wait, or suffer to earn divine favor. The favor of God is not given in portions. It is already yours. But it must find agreement within your own consciousness to become visible. When you assume something as done, even before the facts show it, you are inviting the infinite to take form through your faith. Assumption is not wishful thinking. It is not pretending. It is the deep inner conviction that what you desire has already been accepted in the unseen and is now on its way to manifestation. The moment you accept it as real within, the gears of the universe begin turning. Why? Because your inner acceptance is the signal that God responds to. You are not separate from this power. You are one with it. But it does not override your free will. It waits for your invitation, your permission, your alignment. And that invitation is made through your assumption. If you assume you are not enough, then the power within you has no choice but to express through lack. If you assume that everything is always working out for you, then it begins to unfold in ways your logic could never have orchestrated. The outer world becomes the stage upon which your internal assumptions act out their scene. This is why assumption is more powerful than effort, because effort without belief is resistance. It's running uphill while denying yourself the right to arrive. But assumption is ease, not laziness, but certainty. It is walking with the posture of someone who knows the answer is already on the way. When you assume the reality you desire, your thoughts, feelings, actions, and even your subconscious responses begin to change automatically. You no longer have to force your way through life. You are carried by the natural flow of the state you've embodied. Assumption is how the invisible becomes visible, how the eternal becomes tangible, how the infinite becomes intimate. You were never meant to be ruled by circumstance. You were meant to create by assumption. If you can believe that you already have what you've asked for, if you can feel the reality of it, see it in your mind's eye, and walk in that truth, then there is no power in heaven or earth that can stop it from unfolding. Because God moves through the assumption of man, not in response to begging, but in response to being. The greatest miracles don't come from people who pleaded the longest. They come from people who dared to assume it was already done. Think about this. When you assume something fully, you don't look around for evidence, you move with it. You don't question it constantly, you rest in it. That's the posture of faith. That's the state in which divine power can flow unobstructed. It is not your job to figure out how it will come to pass. It is your job to prepare your inner world to receive it. And assumption is the preparation. It is the act of setting the table for what you know is already on its way. When you assume the outcome, you become the outcome. And life has no choice but to reflect the version of you that you've chosen to embody. So today, choose carefully, assume wisely, ask yourself, not what do I want, but who am I being? Because that answer will tell you what you're actually creating. God is not withholding anything from you. He is simply waiting for you to assume the posture of one who already has it. The kingdom is within you, not in some far-off place. And once you accept this truth, once you decide to live from the state of already fulfilled rather than the state of wanting, miracles begin to appear with divine precision. You do not have to wait, you do not have to earn, you only have to assume. And when you do, the divine within you will do what it has always longed to do, express itself as your answered prayer.